So as we heard, this topic is governance, and quick question from the audience here. Now, how many people here have used AI, either for work or for home? Just about everybody. How many of you understand how it really works? And quite a few less. So that's the dilemma, right? Should we be using technology if we don't fully understand how to use it? So I want to ask the panel first, when you think about governance and ethics in AI, what does it mean to you? What's the first thing you think about?
A lot of work. Now, one of the things that we look at in the banking and insurance industry is they're so highly regulated, whether it's on the European side, we've got new California regulations. The new election is going to lead to some regime of additional regulation. One of the benefits that I had coming from a large credit insurance or a credit agency is that we knew that that was baked into our products from day one. So building a startup, we were able to pretty quickly enhance the products that we had with a regulatory layer on top of it. And that, I believe, is what helped lead us to be able to work more effectively with financial agencies and insurance companies. Do not ignore the amount of extra work that it requires, as most of us know in the industry.
AI ethics, AI governance. I'd like to boil it down to brick and mortar. So when you think about AI governance, or think about guardrails. Think about building a foundation. So you have foundational principles, and you build those foundation. You will need brick and mortar. So think about the bricks as the governance component, and without the mortar, you cannot. They don't hold together too well. There are a lot of gaps, and a lot of things can seep through. So governance and regulations can do a lot in terms of bringing us close to compliance, but ethics is what glues these pieces together.
I mean, on a personal level, I look at governance and ethics within AI in the same way that I look at it in every other facet, right? You know, we have a lot of things, like to your question about, like, do we know how it works? There's a massive number of technologies that exist within our daily lives that we have no conception of how they work. I mean, you know, even the subway, we could ask a lot of people and they're like, yeah, I don't quite know how it gets from here to here and how they switch lines and all that. So with governance, it's more a matter of what's the sort of end point that we're getting to, and that's the thing, as we do, I think, with most regulation, like, that's the thing that we should look at and say, hey, like, this was the outcome, right? And that's a negative outcome, and we need to figure out how to address that. So, you know, for me, I think trying to figure out, like, what is going to be the thing that people do with this, because of the massive number of use cases, is going to be less effective than figuring out how do we make sure that, like, the outcomes, you know that self-driving cars aren't crashing and all that, that those outcomes are in line with what we look at as, like, reasonable and thoughtful, you know, governance principles and ethical principles.